Right now, you are communicating. Your face is doing something. Your posture says something about how you feel. Your hands are either still or moving, and both mean something. You have not spoken a single word in the last 10 seconds, but you have been communicating continuously. How did ancient humans communicate before language? Exactly like this, with their faces, with their hands, with their bodies, with their presence. And they were so good at it that modern science is still trying to understand how deep it goes. Before words existed, humans communicated perfectly. A look across a fire, a raised eyebrow, an open palm, a touch on the shoulder. These were not placeholders for language. They were the language. And here is the strange part. You still speak this ancient language fluently. Every time you smile at a stranger, every time you flinch at bad news, every time your body says something your mouth would never dare, you are communicating the way your ancestors did for hundreds of thousands of years before a single word was ever spoken. This is The Old Human. Season 2 continues. We explored alcohol, the molecule that built civilization. Now we explore the technology that came before words. How did humans communicate before language? How did ancient humans communicate before language? Across groups, across generations, across the vast silence of prehistory? The answer is not just in fossils and cave paintings. It is in your mirror neurons, in your 9-month-old baby pointing at something and looking back at you, in the fact that 93% of what you communicate has nothing to do with words. If you have watched other videos about language evolution, you have heard about the FOXP2 gene and Neanderthal hyoid bones. This is not that video. This is about ancient communication, the full-body, completely honest pre-language system that humans used for hundreds of thousands of years before anyone spoke. And it is about why you still use it every day, without even knowing it. Here is a number that changes everything. 93% of human communication is nonverbal. Only 7% is the actual words. The tone of your voice carries 38% of the meaning. Your body language, your facial expression, your gestures, they carry 55%. The words came last, and they are the least important part. How did ancient humans communicate? They used the 93%, and it worked perfectly. Ancient communication was full body. A hunter returning to camp did not need to say, "I saw a buffalo by the river." They pointed toward the river. They showed the direction with their arm. They indicated the size of the animal with their hands. Their face showed excitement. This was a good find. Their posture showed urgency. We should go now. Before a single word was spoken, every person in that camp knew. Buffalo, river, big, now, complete communication, zero language. And here is the uncomfortable part. Words let us lie. Gestures never learned how. You can say, "I am fine," while your slumped shoulders, your averted eyes, and your fidgeting hands scream the opposite. How did ancient humans communicate before language? More honestly than you do. Your body is still telling the truth, even when your mouth is not. The question is whether anyone is still listening with their eyes. Pointing was the first word. Think about it. You extend your finger, you draw an invisible line from your body to something in the world, and another human being, just by following that line, understands exactly what you are referring to. Look at that. That is food. Danger there. No other animal on Earth does this. A chimpanzee will reach for something it wants, but it will never extend a finger simply to direct another chimpanzee's attention. Pointing is uniquely human. It is the foundation of all communication, and it requires zero sounds. Every human baby in every culture on Earth starts pointing at around 9 months of age. They point at something, a dog, a ball, a light, and then they look back at you. They are not just showing you the thing, they are checking that you are looking too. This is called joint attention. Two minds focused on the same object at the same time. It is the moment language becomes possible. Before a single word leaves a baby's mouth, they are already communicating with the oldest human gesture. Look where I am looking. Chimpanzees do not point. They reach, they grab, they gesture for things they want, but they never extend a finger into the space between them and another chimp just to say, "Notice that." How did ancient humans communicate before language? By noticing things together, by pointing, by creating shared attention, the mental space where meaning lives. Pointing is not just a gesture, it is the first moment one mind said to another, "We are in this together." Pause for a moment. Every video about language evolution shows you the timeline. When we developed the hyoid bone, when the FOXP2 gene mutated, when the larynx dropped. Almost none of them show you the brain mechanism that makes all human connection possible. It is called mirror neurons, and it means your brain is constantly feeling what other people feel without a single word being exchanged. Mirror neurons are brain cells that fire both when you do something and when you watch someone else do it. When you see someone smile, your brain fires the exact same neurons as if you were smiling yourself. When you see someone in pain, your brain generates a ghost of that pain. When you watch someone reach for a cup, the motor neurons that would control your own reaching hand light up. This is the biological basis of empathy, and it predates language by millions of years. You have almost certainly yawned at least once while watching this video. That is mirror neurons. You did not choose to yawn. Your brain saw a yawn in the video, in the person next to you, even in the word yawn on this screen, and replicated it automatically. This is ancient communication in its purest form. Direct brain-to-brain transfer that bypasses language entirely. Your ancestors communicated this way constantly, feeling each other's emotions, catching each other's moods, synchronizing as a group without anyone saying a word. How did ancient humans communicate before language? Instantly. A face showed fear, and everyone who saw it felt a flash of fear through their own mirror neurons. The group reacted as one organism. No one needed to say, "I am afraid." The fear was visible, and every brain that saw it replicated it. This is not slow. This is not symbolic. This is the most direct form of communication that exists, and it still works. When someone smiles at you, you smile back before you can stop yourself. That is not a choice. That is wiring. Fire did not just protect humans from predators. It created the original communication space. Before fire, the day ended at sunset. After fire, humans had hours of safe, lit darkness, and they used those hours for the most complex communication that had ever happened on Earth. Around the fire, ancient humans acted out their hunts. They used their whole bodies to tell stories. Gestures were exaggerated so they could be seen in firelight. Expressions were amplified. Every movement carried meaning. Ancient communication around the fire was cinematic. A hunter stood up and showed how big the animal was, arms spread wide. They showed which way it ran, a sweeping gesture. They acted out the moment of the throw, their whole body a performance. The audience watched, laughed, learned. This was the original theater, the original classroom, the original campfire story. And the human brain, watching these performances night after night for thousands of years, learned to encode complex narratives through movement and expression long before it learned to encode them in words. Your ancestors communicated around a fire, active, engaged, present, together. You communicate through screens, passive, isolated, scrolling alone in the dark. The hardware in your brain is the same. The software has been downgraded. You were built for firelight and faces. You got blue light and text, and you can feel the difference even if you cannot name it. Some gestures are universal, hardwired into the human brain. A smile means happiness in every culture on Earth. Raised eyebrows mean recognition. Open palms mean honesty. I am not holding a weapon. A head shake means no. Crossed arms mean defensiveness. Blind children who have never seen a face still smile when they are happy. These gestures are not learned. They are inherited. They are the vocabulary of the ancient language your body still speaks. How did humans communicate before language across different groups who shared no words, with universal signals? When two strangers met, open palms meant "I am not a threat." A smile meant "I am friendly." These signals predate language, and they still work. You can communicate with any human on Earth without speaking a single shared word. Your ancestors relied on this ability every time they encountered a new group, and it kept them alive. The handshake is ancient. It originated as a way to show you were not holding a weapon, open palm, extended toward a stranger. Today it seals billion-dollar deals. The gesture has not changed. The meaning has not changed. Your ancestors invented it to survive encounters with the unknown. You use it every day without thinking about what it originally meant. I trust you enough to put my weapon hand in yours. How did ancient humans communicate before language? With their bodies, their faces, their hands, their touch. They could not hide what they felt. And then, roughly 200,000 years ago, someone made a sound that meant something specific, and everything changed. Words gave us precision, the ability to describe things that were not present, things that happened in the past, things that might happen in the future. Words gave us the ability to plan, to teach, to warn across distances. And words gave us the ability to lie. The first words were probably sounds that imitated things. Onomatopoeia, a growl for a predator, a chirp for a bird, a splash for water, the sound of a heartbeat for fear. This is called the bow-wow theory of language origin, and it suggests the first words were not abstract symbols. They were direct, sensory connections to the world. They meant exactly what they sounded like: honest, transparent, impossible to fake. Words had advantages that gestures did not. You can speak in the dark. Gestures are invisible. You can speak across a distance. Gestures need proximity. You can speak while your hands are carrying something. Gestures require free hands. Words liberated human communication from the constraints of the body, but they also liberated it from the constraints of truth. You can say, "There is food over the hill," when there is no food. You cannot fake a genuine facial expression, at least not convincingly, not to people who have spent their entire lives reading faces. The first lie was probably told shortly after the first word. An ancient human pointed at a distant hill and made a sound that meant, "Food there." The others followed. But the food was not there. Maybe the liar wanted the group to move in that direction. Maybe they wanted the food for themselves. Maybe they were just testing what this new technology, words, could do. And human communication has been complicated ever since. Before language, humans communicated with their whole bodies. They read each other's faces the way you read a screen, effortlessly, continuously, deeply. They felt each other's emotions through mirror neurons. They trusted what they saw. Words gave us precision, the ability to describe, to explain, to teach across generations. But words also gave us the ability to say one thing while meaning another, to conceal, to manipulate, to lie. Honesty was the price of language. The most important things humans ever communicated were said without language. Love was a touch, not an emoji. Danger was a scream, not a warning label. Trust was an open palm, not a signed contract. Grief was a wail, not a condolence card. You can say, "I love you" in words, but the words without the touch, without the look, without the presence of the person saying them, they are just vibrations in the air. Your ancestors knew this. You have forgotten. You communicate more words per day than any human in history. Thousands of texts, emails, posts, comments, and you have never been more lonely. Communication without presence is a shadow of the real thing. Words without bodies are echoes. Your ancestors communicated with everything they had: face, hands, posture, touch, presence, and they were fully understood. You communicate with 7% of your capacity and wonder why no one really gets you. The capacity for the other 93% is still there. You just stopped using it. The ancient communication scoreboard reveals what we traded: Honesty, 10 out of 10. Connection, 10. Presence, 10. Emotional depth, 10. Precision, 5. Because some things are hard to gesture, total, 45 out of 50. Your ancestors could not send an email, but they could look someone in the eye and convey more meaning in a single glance than you can in 1,000 words. The modern communication scoreboard tells a different story. We gained precision, 10 out of 10, speed, 10, reach, 10. You can talk to someone on the other side of the planet instantly, but honesty dropped to 2 out of 10 because words hide as much as they reveal. Connection dropped to 2 because screens remove presence. And presence itself, the single most important element of human communication, dropped to 1. Total, 35 out of 50. We gained reach and lost touch. Your ancestor communicated anger by yelling and waving their arms around, and everyone within 100 meters knew exactly how they felt. You communicate anger by typing "per my last email" in 12-point Calibri and hoping the recipient infers the appropriate level of rage from your word choice. Progress is debatable. You have 5G connectivity, fiber optic broadband, and a device that can reach anyone on Earth in seconds, and your video call still freezes at the worst possible moment. Your ancestors had 0 bars of reception, no satellites, no Wi-Fi, and 100% signal clarity because they were in the same room. The best communication technology has never been invented. It has always been proximity, and it always will be. Let us update the chalkboard. Season 1 is complete. Season 2 continues, alcohol, and now communication, the mind and society. 6 more episodes to go, and the picture of what it means to be human is getting clearer and stranger. In the Museum of Lost Human Communication, the 93% pie chart, labeled only 7%, is words. The pointing gesture, labeled the first word. The mirror neuron brain diagram, labeled direct brain to brain. The firelight storytelling scene, labeled the original theater. The universal smile, labeled hardwired honesty. These are not historical curiosities. These are capacities you still possess and have mostly forgotten how to use. There is a single frame that shows an ancient human and a modern human facing each other. The ancient human is communicating with their whole body, hands open, face expressive, fully present. The modern human is looking at a phone. Your ancestors communicated with everything they had. You communicate with 7%. And then you wonder why no one really understands you. The equipment has not changed, only the willingness to use it. The old human teaches us 3 things about communication. 1. 93% of what you communicate has nothing to do with words. Your face, your hands, your posture, your presence. This is the ancient language you still speak fluently. Pay attention to it, in yourself and in others. It is telling you the truth even when words are not. 2. Pointing was the first word. Joint attention, 2 minds focused on the same thing, is the foundation of all human connection. Before words, before gestures, before anything, there was the simple act of looking at something together. Every conversation you have ever had begins with this: 2 minds agreeing to share attention. Honor that. It is the oldest human technology. 3. Words gave us precision, but took away honesty. The most important things you will ever communicate will be said without language. Do not hide behind words. Say it with your presence. Say it with your attention. Say it with your touch. Your ancestors knew that the body cannot lie. You have forgotten, but you can remember. Next time on The Old Human, they communicated without words. They shared fire and stories and the long darkness. But how did they love? Did ancient humans have one partner for life? Or was the ancient human relationship something completely different from what we assume? Monogamy, polygamy, and the truth about how our ancestors paired up. Next time, they pointed at the stars together. They told stories around the fire. They communicated with everything they had. But the most important communication of all, the one that ensured their genes survived into the future, was how they chose each other. Did ancient humans have one partner? the answer is not what you expect. Next time on The Old Human, if you made it this far, you now understand that the oldest human language is not spoken, it is shown. Your face, your hands, your body, all of it is speaking right now to anyone paying attention. Your ancestors never stopped communicating this way. Neither did you. You just stopped noticing. Subscribe. This is The Old Human. 93% of what you say has nothing to do with words. The story continues. Relationships, how ancient humans chose each other, next time.